Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana
Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana
Yashodanandana Braja Janarandana
Yamunatira जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रविजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमद ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रविजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर श्रील प्रभुपाद की आनंद कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामचय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधाखंड गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मथुरा धाम की गंगा मई की यमुना मई की तुलसी देवी की भक्ति देवी की समवेत भक्तवृंद की all glories to the Assembly of Devotees, Hare Krishna, all glories to the Assembly of Devotees, Hare Krishna, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Could you grab my computer, Jagat? Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, reading from Canto 12, text number, chapter 2, Canto 3, chapter 12, text number 20, 21, and 22. Okay. Maitreyaḥ uvāca evam ātma-bhuvā ādiṣṭaḥ parikramya girām patim bāḍham iti amum āmantrya. Sorry. Viveśa tapase vanam maitreya uvāca evam ātma-bhuvādiṣṭaḥ parikramya girāṁ patim bāḍhamityamum āmantrya viveśa tapase vanam maitreya uvāca evam ātma-bhuvādiṣṭaḥ parikramya girāṁ patim bāḍhamityamum āmantrya viveśa tapase vanam maitreya uvāca evam ātma-bhuvādiṣṭaḥ parikramya girāṁ patim bāḍhamityamum āmantrya viveśa tapase vanam. Please repeat.
Evam ātma-bhuvādiṣṭaḥ parikramya girāṁ patim bāḍhamityamum āmantrya viveśa tapase vanam Maitreya uvāca evam ātma-bhuvādiṣṭaḥ parikramya girāṁ patim bāḍhamityamum āmantrya viveśa tapase vanam.
Okay. Mataji's? Maitreya uvāca patim. Okay. So, Maitreya uvāca, Śrī Maitreya said, evam, thus, ātma-bhuvā, by Brahmā, ādiṣṭaḥ, being so requested, parikramya, by circumambulation, by circumambulating, girāṁ, of the Vedas, patim, unto the master, bāḍham, that is right, iti, thus, amum, unto Brahmā, āmantrya, thus addressing, viveśa, entered into, tapase, for the matter of penance, vanam, into the forest. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Śrī Maitreya said, thus Rudra, having been ordered by Brahmā, circumambulated his father, the master of the Vedas, addressing him with the words of assent. He had entered the forest to perform austere penances. Text 21. Atābhidhyāyātha sargam dasha putrāha prajanjinire bhagavat shakti yuktasya lokashantana hetavaha. Brahmā, who was empowered by the Supreme Personality Godhead, thought of generating living entities and begat 10 sons for the extension of the generations. Marichir atra anghirasu rasau pulastyah pulaha krituhu bhigur vasishtho dakshascha dashamas tatra naradaha. Marichi atri angira pulastya pulaha kratu bhrigu vasishta daksha and the 10 son Narada were thus born. Purport. The whole process of creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation is meant to give the conditioned souls a chance to go back home, back to Godhead. Brahmā created Rudra to help him in his creative endeavor. But from the very beginning, Rudra began to devour the whole creation, and thus he had to be stopped from such devastating activities. Brahmā therefore created another set of good children who were mostly in favor of worldly fruitive activities. He knew very well, however, that without devotional service to the Lord there is hardly any benefit for the conditioned souls. And thus he at last created his worthy son Narada, who is the supreme spiritual master of all transcendentalists. Without devotional service to the Lord, one cannot make progress in any department of activity. Although the path of devotional service is always independent of anything material, only the transcendental loving service of the Lord can deliver the real goal of life. And thus, the service rendered by Sriman Narada Muni is the highest among all sons of Brahmā. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmritamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Śrī Caitanya Manovishtam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Tadadi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Guru Shri Tapadakavalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangsha Shri Rupam Sarachatam Sagan Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savaditam Parijan Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagan Ravita Shri Vijakam Vitam Shri He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavanda Jagatpati Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishavanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyev cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtabhutul Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swamiti Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtabhutul Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vracharni Nirviseja Shinivadi Paschati Deshtarni Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jnananandamayam Deva Nirmala Spatikākriti Madharam Sarva Vidyanam Ahayagrivam Upasmai Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tinir Smarana Hoy Vigna Vinashan Nayashahay Nijavanchita Puran. Okay, so continuing here this ecstatic chapter, creation of Kumars and others. amazing pastime that goes on here, very dear to all of the devotees of the Lord, because it begins, you could say in one sense, begins all of course it's going on unlimitedly, but begins the pastimes of, Jaya and Vijay getting sent down to this world, and so many of the avatars of, of Vishnu coming to have a playful pastimes, Nrsimha. And then we have, obviously, here we have, coming up later in the chapter, we have Varaha, Matsya, all of these performance of these pastimes being taken place as a result of what is being talked about here. So, it's a very ecstatic, you could say, beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Obviously it started in Canto 2, but really it starts to get into more of the pastimes, and a lot of the knowledge aspects of it also throughout these third canto really sets up everything for the rest of the cantos to come. So you see here, Lord Brahma, originally creating Lord Shiva, he's having a lot of trouble. He's having a lot of trouble straight from the beginning, and I think, and Charideshna Prabhu was mentioning how he's already gone through so much. You get born in a lotus flower, and then you gotta, go down the lotus flower, come back up, and then perform penance for so long, and then hear the word tapa, and then start this creation, and go through a whole section of creation, and then you come to creating the living entities, and then now you got to go through so much more trouble. In one sense, that as we've discussed also, it generally seems to be the standard of having progeny or trying to create, is that there is some level of difficulty in anything you do when you're trying to endeavor to create something, especially in this particular case of creation going on. Lord Brahma is beginning the creation, and he's having to go through so many austerities in order to do so. Even when he does it, then he's got to deal with the people that he creates. For example, we have Kumars being the first ones coming out, and immediately they didn't take upon Lord Brahma's orders, but decided to just go for transcendence. And then, as a result of that, we have Lord Shiva come out of Lord Brahma's eyebrows, when he was not very happy. So between the eyebrows, Lord Rudra comes out, and then Lord Brahma provides him so many wives to begin creation. But Lord, Rudra, he does the opposite almost. He starts to, the living entities that come out of Lord Rudra start to destruct the universe, and Lord Brahma is not very pleased. So much trouble he has to take under. It's like you try to do, you've gone through the whole process of getting to a point where you can now start actually doing your business, and then you start your business and it's just, okay, it's not working. Opposing factors are coming in. So Lord Brahma, although he is, any normal man would be, any ordinary person would be frustrated. But Lord Brahma is not forgetting the principle that he is practicing, that this is devotional service to the Lord. So although there is frustration and difficulty, and it's been quite hard for him and continues to be hard for him, he nonetheless continues with his duty of creation. And although he sees Rudra as a destructive force, he gives him a proper place and gives him proper service to do so. And he empowers him to do so, and at the same time he engages. Okay, now you go perform penance. Don't try to destroy the world right now. Your time will come when you will be able to do that. So go and be peaceful right now. So a part of the management of the universe is knowing how to engage people in the proper service. So it's not that he just tried to completely shun Shiva, Lord Shiva here, or Rudra here. He gave him a proper place to perform a particular type of function, a particular type of devotion service to the Lord. Then, seeing that, he created these 10 sons, and specifically mentioned in the purport here, that they were of the fruit of nature, of fruitive activities, inclined towards fruitive activities. So, Lord Brahma had to create such sons in order to get the universe populated. Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulastya, Pulha, Kratur, Bhrigu, Vasishta, Daksha, those specifically mentioned, they are for creating progeny. And Srila Prabhupada mentions that it's specifically only being done for one purpose. Why? Is meant to give the conditioned soul a chance to go back home, back to Godhead. And within that realm of the chance to go back home, back to Godhead, is the chance to allow those living entities to also put forward or exhibit their independent nature, whether they want to be the Tatashtra Shakti or whether they want to be in the Antaranga or the Bahiranga, whether they want to be in the spiritual realm or in the material realm. That is a part of this giving the conditioned souls a chance to go back home, back to Godhead, that each living entity gets to choose that. So, Lord Brahma's position is to give the living entities facilities to exercise their independent nature, their rebellious nature towards the Supreme Personality Godhead, but ultimately to bring them to a point of rectification in which they can get a chance to go back home, back to Godhead. So he creates these 9 specific personalities for that purpose of engaging the living entities in so many other activities and encouraging the living entities in so many other activities other than particularly Krishna consciousness, as we see with Daksha. Talk about troubles with sons. Daksha creates so much trouble with Lord Shiva. And there's internal fighting, fratricidal war going on even here with Daksha, Lord Shiva. And in Narada and Daksha, they pick up, Daksha is not particularly happy. So there's difficulties going on as Lord Brahma is creating. But nonetheless, he's never forgetting the position and his service, even amongst those difficulties. So here, these good sets of sons were created, particularly for the purpose, the worldly fruitive activities is mentioned. So, dharma, artha, kama, these are the 3 vargas that are there in the Vedas, by which when one exercises dharma, there is, as a result, there is artha. One acquires assets. When one performs sacrifices and performs different hotras, then he can acquire nice house, nice sons, as we see throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, that when the king, he desires a good son, he generally does a sacrifice in order to attain a proper son, or perform some religious principle activities. So one can acquire from dharma, house, son, daughter, cows, animals, and all these things which are mentioned as arthas. They acquire those so-called necessities for them. And then as a result, they can, for enjoying this object, there is kama. So this kama allows you to enjoy that artha that is there. So that kama is there, the desire to enjoy, and dharma, you could say, facilitates that to some extent. Kaitava dharma therefore is mentioned because they're ultimately not for our enjoyment, or that's not the goal of life. So one enjoys that which the activities that he performs, fruitive activities, he tries to enjoy that in this world. So that generally is the pursuit of human life for most people in this world, that try to enjoy these arthas that are there. These most, obviously now it's not so based on religious principles, but traditionally seeing how Lord Brahma has created these personalities under these particular rules and regulations, or the 3 vargas, they try to enjoy the human form of life, or the form of life, or whichever form of life they may get. So amongst all of those living entities, they're all, those particular living entities, these 9 here, they're endeavoring for fruitive activity. But Brahma is not particularly satisfied with that. He knows these are just a act out of duty, but his real desire is to direct the living entities towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as we have read previously in the first line, or first few lines of this chapter. So, in that regard, I've mentioned that before. Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions is that the householder, he acts out of duty and acts in relationship to the world out of duty. And the only time when he's considered association with this material world or materialistic persons is when he has affection or develops affection for them, or has a love for them. Develops this what's called priti, that he develops love, and in that association then he falls down from his position. So Lord Brahma, he's only acting out of duty. He's acting out of duty in order to create these living entities. But you can see that he knew very well, however, that without devotional service to the Lord, there is hardly any benefit for the conditioned souls. And therefore, at last, he created his worthy son Narada, who is the supreme spiritual master of all transcendentalists. So that satisfied Lord Brahma. He was not satisfied by just having these sons that are there to create progeny and were acting out of what he wanted them to do. Okay, create progeny. And Daksha did that, and the rest of these personalities did that. But although they were carrying out his order, his real desire was to send the living entities back home, back to Godhead. So Narada was the personality who particularly fulfilled that desire of Lord Brahma. As we see in so many instances where Narada Muni, he takes upon the position of, he's a sannyasi, he's beyond any other varna and ashramas, but he's traveling around. Narada Muni, Bajai Bina, Radhika Ramana, what's the lesson? Nami. That he goes singing the name of, that's all he does. He plays on the veena, singing the glories of Radha Krishna. And he gives devotional service to the living entities. So here we see that Lord Brahma is only particularly satisfied by performing devotional service to the Lord. So Prabhupada mentions here that Narada Muni, he is the supreme spiritual master. I wanted to mention one point. Just like Vyasadeva, when he wrote his Vedanta Sutra, he felt some level of dissatisfaction, and Narada approaches him saying that, why are you dissatisfied? Are you still identifying with this body? O great sage, O learned one, are you still identifying with this body, this mind, these words? Are you identifying with that? And he chastises him, saying that you've actually led the living entities in the wrong direction, that you haven't directly described the performance of devotional service to the Lord, or the glories of the Lord properly. So this actually isn't proper, therefore you're dissatisfied. Similarly, Lord Brahma may feel a level of dissatisfaction because he hasn't particularly created Narada yet in his process of creation. At last he created Narada. So Narada Muni particularly, his position is to liberate the living entities. And we see that again and again throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, specifically with the Haryashvas and the Shavalashvas also, that these two sets, you could say, of sons of Daksha were liberated by Narada Muni. And Daksha was not happy at all. He was really fried out with Narada. As Lord Brahma was a little fried out with the Kumaras also. And we see Daksha also quite fried out here. The Haryashvas, here it comes in the 6th canto. The Haryashvas, the sons of Prajapati Daksha, were very well behaved, cultured sons, but unfortunately, because of the instructions of Narada Muni, they deviated from the order of their father. When Daksha heard this news, which was brought to him by Narada, he began to lament. Although he was the father of such good sons, he had lost them all. Certainly, this was lamentable. Purport: the Haryashvas, the sons of Prajapati Daksha, were certainly well behaved, learned and advanced, and in accordance with the order of their father, they went to perform austerities to beget good sons for their family. But Narada Muni took advantage of their good behavior and culture to properly direct them not to be involved with this material world, but to use their culture and knowledge to end their material affairs. The Haryashvas abided by the order of Narada Muni, but when news of this was brought to Prajapati Daksha, the Prajapati, instead of being happy with the action of Narada, was extremely sorrowful. Similarly, we are trying to bring as many young men as possible to Krishna conscious movement for their ultimate benefit. But the parents of the young men joining this movement, being very sorry, are lamenting and making counter-propaganda. Of course, Prajapati Daksha did not make propaganda against Narada Muni, but later, as we shall see, Daksha cursed Narada Muni for his benevolent activities. This is the way of materialistic life. A materialistic father and mother want to engage their sons in begetting children, striving for improved economic conditions, and rotting in materialistic life. They are not unhappy when their children become spoiled, useless citizens, but they lament when they join the Krishna consciousness movement to achieve the ultimate goal of life. This animosity between parents and the Krishna consciousness movement has existed since time immemorial. Even Narada Muni was condemned, not to speak of others. Nevertheless, Narada Muni never gives up his mission. To deliver as many fallen souls as possible, he continues playing his musical instruments and vibrating the transcendental sound, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is such an ecstatic purport that really summarizes the life of Krishna consciousness, the preaching, pranatijar, hetu prachar, the life of all, that one who has life, he can preach. So we can see Narada Muni, he is being cursed even by Daksha, and Srila Prabhupada says how there is, even in the Krishna consciousness movement, there is propaganda or there is fight, there is a pushback against the Krishna consciousness movement at all times, and it's nothing new. Srila Prabhupada recognizes that it's nothing new, actually it's been going on since time immemorial. That Daksha opposed Narada's preaching against his sons, Haryashvas, and then later we'll see that, okay, fine, he accepts it, he was a little sorrowful, and then the Shavalashvas come, and then he's really fried out. He says, okay, Narada, you can't stay in a place more than, how long is it, day? It's some small amount of time. Yeah, to taste the milk of a cow. Here, it comes right here. Okay, let me see here. Yeah, okay, anyways, I'm not able to find it. But very short time, he's not able to stay very long in one particular place. Srila Prabhupada often also relates in one purport that similarly I also have that curse, and I'm traveling, only staying 3 days in each place. So we see that the devotees of the Lord, or those who are the supreme spiritual master of all transcendentalists, they also don't have a particular smooth time in their preaching. Narada Muni had to go through, or is cursed, or goes through different things here. So we can see that there's always a pushback against the Krishna consciousness movement, or pushback against the preaching of pure devotional service, even from great personalities as Daksha, who are direct sons of Lord Brahmā. And we see that in the Krishna consciousness movement in our own lives also. Even the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, the sons of Srila Prabhupada, you could say, in one sense, also sometimes oppose the Krishna consciousness movement and criticize us for being too much, pushing too much for people to join and become full-time devotees and brahmacharis, and to push the idea of surrender is the devotees within the Krishna consciousness movement label us as cults. There's one particular devotee who goes to cult conferences every year. I don't know why, and he says that the definition of Krishna life is a cult. And it's interestingly, other disciples of Srila Prabhupada say that the mood and attitude at Krishna life is not different to what it was like in Srila Prabhupada's time, because they constantly mention how they feel like they're back in the brahmacharya ashram or in Prabhupada days when they come here. So we see that the path of a preacher who is trying to preach pure devotional service of the Lord is particularly of pushing forward renunciation from this material world, giving up such nonsense, hogwash ideas, and surrendering unto the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. And that is not liked by many people who want to maintain a good status within this material world. Because with the idea that you want to maintain a good status in this material world, there is no question of pure devotional service. There should be opposition, and Srila Prabhupada liked opposition. He said this opposition is very good, means that it is having effect. If there is no opposition and everybody's lovey and dovey, then there might be something wrong. It's not that maybe like that in every case, but there probably is something wrong. Because the devotional service of the Lord, of Bhagavad Tattva Vijnana, this knowledge of Bhagavad Tattva, pushes against everything against what materialistic society pushes forward. So we see that the transcendentalists, the devotees of the Lord who are preaching this pure devotional service, they have so much trouble in doing so. But they take so much great pleasure in that trouble of serving the Lord, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur relates, that any trouble that comes about in your devotional service, O Lord, I take to be great pleasure. So we see Narada Muni, he's always blissed out. He's traveling all over the universe. He's always blissed out. Why? Because he's absorbed in Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, in glorifying the Lord, in hearing about the Lord. So it's a very important point here that Narada Muni, he's being created by Lord Brahma, and he's disturbing even Lord Brahma's own creation to some extent by disturbing the sons of Daksha. And so many other devotees that he goes to. Prithu Maharaj, that's there, right? Prithu Maharaj is a Prithu or is it Anga? Who is that? That's meant to become the next ruler. Anga, is it Anga? He's meant to become the next ruler. There's no other ruler. But Narada Muni goes and preaches to him and tells him to give up everything, just forget it all, become, stay a brahmachari, and that's it. Forget it. And then Lord Brahma has to come down and tell him, no. You can't do that. You have to get married, and he gets married, because Lord Brahma gives him the promise that okay, you will attain the devotional service of the Lord at the end of your life. Huh? Oh, that is Priyavrata. So we see here that Narada Muni, his pure position is to go and just preach the message of the Lord, and he's completely blissed out in doing so. Because without devotional service to the Lord, one cannot make progress in any department of activity. Although the path of devotional service is independent, is always independent of anything material. Only the transcendental loving service of the Lord can deliver the real goal of life, and thus the service rendered by Sriman Narada Muni is the highest among all the sons of Lord Brahma. So there is nothing that can be accomplished in this world unless one takes to devotional service. Everything becomes completely useless. This Shrava eva hi kevalam, and this comes again and again. That is the real goal of life, is to be completely absorbed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, whatever we do. That is at the center. Otherwise, one cannot make any progress. It's considered Shrava eva hi kevalam, and we're having that discussion. That on the ultimate realm of Bhagavad Dharma, or the aim at the loving relationship with the Lord, everything else becomes insignificant, just like the pleasure that is derived by impersonalness in the impersonal Brahman is that of a hoof's cow print. Cow's hoofs, right? A calf's hoof. And similarly, whatever is achieved outside of Bhagavad Bhakti is considered absolutely insignificant to an extent which is actually useless. So unless that activity invokes upon the living entity the desire to engage in the loving devotional service of the Lord, or engages that living entity within the service of the Lord, then it is considered absolutely useless, or it is of no progress. So Lord Brahma particularly put that into position, that Narada Muni, he is the most important son of Lord Brahma. Why? Because he is spreading the message of the Lord. As Srila Prabhupada also said, that I am the most important son of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Why? Because he is the Senapati Bhakta, the personality who has fulfilled the desire of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Oh my God. So you can see the most important son, what does he do? He perfects his own life and perfects the life of so many others. And that is the, you could say, scale of judgment, you could say in some aspect, in total, and how to understand important personalities, that they become pure devotees and encourage others to become pure devotees. That is the success of one's life. Not how many disciples he has made or how many centers he has opened, as Srila Prabhupada would often say like that also. It's not about that. It's about how many people are getting the pure devotional service to the Lord. Because there's so many bogus rascals that have so many disciples and have so many centers. But it's absolutely useless, and worse than useless. It's sending people to hell. So in our line of this Bhakti Vinoda Dhara, if we only care about how many people we are bringing to pure devotional service, and we don't care for anything else so much, actually. We do everything with the idea of bringing people to pure devotional service. Because without that, then we also become useless, asar, as we hear from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, in our endeavors to try to serve the Lord, we should only consider this one thing, how to bring people to the platform of pure devotional service. And as we won't be popular, it will be very few, but that is the desire of the acharyas, that is the desire of Krishna, that is the desire of Lord Brahmā, the whole parampara, to come to this position. And if we do such a thing, then we will become very dear to them. As Narada Muni is very, very, very dear to Lord Brahmā. Why? Because he's teaching pure devotion service to the Lord. He's not deviating from that. And we can learn from our own spiritual master and so many other great representatives of Srila Prabhupada, of how they've become so dear to Srila Prabhupada. They may not have done so many crazy things or amazing things in the worldly perspective, but just the fact that they went on performing devotional service their whole life and endeavored for pure devotional service, they're all glorious. As Bhakti Vikas Maharaj would relate, that the devotee that's in Chicago, that he's just cleaning pots all his life. Huh? Jitendriya Prabhu. Nobody's gonna say, what is it, Jai Om Vishnupada to him when he goes back home, back to Godhead, because it doesn't matter who glorifies you or not. The fact that we're performing pure devotional service and go back home, back to Godhead, that pleases the spiritual master ultimately. That what is most pleasing to Srila Prabhupada? That you love Krishna. And that's there very prominently in the mood and mission. That you see, okay, yes, book distribution is what pleases, but ultimately, that you love Krishna. That it should be seen. So that is the highest goal of our lives, to become pure devotees, to desire to become pure devotees, and to make others into pure devotees. And by doing that, we become very dear to our acharyas, to our own Gurudev, our own spiritual master, and dear to also other living entities, because we're able to give them the highest benediction of humanity at large. And so we should keep that as a central principle of our life, not forgetting that. As soon as we forget that and we get distracted in this and that, whether it may be in the form of numbers, in the form of disciples, in the form of popularity, all of these things just become a simple distraction if we forget the pure message of the Lord. And we'll become dissatisfied, others will become dissatisfied, our spiritual master becomes dissatisfied. So the real goal of life is just to serve the Lord. Simple service, simple-hearted service. There's this nice class by Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, everyone can listen if you have some time, called Some Simple Life in Vrindavan or something along those lines. And he's just saying how in Vrindavan it's just very simple. The devotees of the Lord are very simple, not very complicated. They're just very simple. And ultimately our position, our goal is to come to that level of becoming simple devotees of the Lord, following in the footsteps of Vrindavan Vasis. Just be simple. Simple, pure devotional service. It doesn't require anything complicated. In our heart, we must remain simple. So we want to come to that position. We want to come to that position of Vrindavan, not to be some gopi, or not, maybe some of the devotees, gopis, not that that's the emphasis, but the emphasis upon the service attitude of the Lord, to serve properly with the proper mood and attitude. So that will please the acharyas, that will please our Father, our spiritual Father, and our mature fathers also, whether they know it or not. It's for their ultimate benefit. So here we see that coming up. We'll see that more tomorrow. Whoever is giving the class tomorrow, Narada Muni was born from the deliberation of Brahmā, and which is the best part of his body. So we'll go on with that more tomorrow. If there's any questions, there's 2 minutes left. Anything? Any questions, comments? No? Yes, Ravi.
Prabhu, you're mentioning how Lord Brahmā was frustrated.
Yes.
I was kind of thinking about it. Is it that, we could even be doing the right thing and we'll feel frustrated because it seems like frustration is like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. You know what I mean? So I guess if you're doing things right, would it be that you become motivated rather than frustrated? Do you understand what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah, so when we're performing devotional service in general, if one does not forget the proper knowledge of pure devotional service, or what a goal of that activity is, then even amongst us difficulties, then he won't get frustrated. But we're conditioned, so there's that frustration comes about to some extent. And sometimes that frustration is also within the realm of devotional service. But in our endeavors in this world to try to bring people to Krishna consciousness, or endeavor to create a facility in which people can be Krishna conscious, yes, there's frustration, because there's at every step there's like difficulty. But nonetheless, we remember that all those things are for the service of the Lord, and we can derive satisfaction in that. And there may be frustration, immediate frustration, but it's not frustration to the extent that we leave devotional service. So that frustration is arising out of the desire to perform pure devotional service. So it's favorable frustration, you could say, because it doesn't lead us away. It should push us to continue performing devotional service. What is that? Ye ātma-bhuvā. That, how does that start? Savai pumso paro dharma yator bhakti adoksh yator bhakti adoksh ahitya ki apratihata ye ātma-bhuvā. So that this is the highest, this is the ultimate point of dharma, platform of dharma. So the highest good that one can do. So he should feel self-satisfied by performing such activity. That means remembering why we're doing what we're doing. Sometimes it's difficult. You just do the same thing every day, cook lunch, clean the floors, do this, do that, same thing every day. So if you forget, then that frustration will come about, by which you'll think, what else can I do to be satisfied? But if you remember Krishna, then even sometimes, okay, it's frustrating, you'll take that austerity and then make it Krishna conscious, or see how it is Krishna conscious, just like Lord Brahmā. He takes upon that austerity, knowing that, okay, this is for the service of the Lord. So it's what is it? Smartavya, how does that go?
Smartavya satatam
Vishnu. That always remember Vishnu, never forget him. Why? Because as soon as we forget, then frustration. Because it's not pleasing to our senses, performing devotional service, particularly in the beginning. It's like jaundice. Okay, it's 8:32, I better end. Okay, Śrīmad Bhagavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. From Tuesday we'll have more Q&As also available. So.